Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Warren from the Paladin Journal, and I welcome you all to my first video review on the channel. And our subject today is Horus Rising by Dan Abnett. This is the first novel in the Horus Heresy series, as you can see right here. And this is the book that's going to kick off in detail, as we will see, in detail, the history of one of the most seminal events in the lore of Warhammer. It's been enshrined in its history for decades at this point, and in one form or another, it has always been there. It is a crucial element to how we understand and how we approach Warhammer 40,000 lore. And our guide, as I said, is the author Dan Abnett, who's been writing in the worlds of Warhammer for a long time. And with this novel, I think he's off to a brilliant start with the series itself. The series is going to be written not just by him, by a whole stable of writers, new and old, who delve into the many different characters and events and organizations and so much more of this grand history of the Imperium of Mankind. Now, to start off with, I think the most important element of this novel is the very first paragraph on page 1, which, as I'll repeat for you now, "I was there," he would say afterwards, "until afterwards became a time quite devoid of laughter. I was there the day Horus slew the Emperor. It was a delicious conceit, and his comrades would chuckle at the sheer treason of it." Now, one of the many reasons that this paragraph is important is because we, as the lore-aware reader, we know what Dan Abnett is referencing here. And I think it was a brilliant start to the series, and it sets expectations for what's going to happen, not just in this book, but in the rest of the series. Now, our main focal point in the novel is Captain Garville Loken of the Luna Wolves 10th Company. He's an up-and-coming rising star of the Legion, and as we see from the beginning, he's a war hero, and he's rising through the ranks to become one of the closest confidants of the Primarch Horus, War Master Horus. And we see how through him, the cracks begin to form in Horus' understanding of what is going on in the galaxy, what his role is meant to be, and the Herculean task that the Emperor, his father, has left for him to accomplish. And I think that in itself is everything about this novel. We see how things get started for the legions, in that we see what is happening to them post this great triumph at Ullanor, a marked point in the history of the Great Crusade, when everything changed. The Emperor stepped back from actively leading the Great Crusade, elevating Horus in his stead, giving him authority over all of his other brothers and all the armies of the Imperium, and how his decline begins from this great hero to one of the most reviled figures in Imperial history. And one of the many things that stood out to me, apart from that brilliant and starting, was how deep and descriptive Dan Abnett's dialogue is. His sentences are complex, and there's so much detail that he packs into it. Not just, when he's talking about the different locales the characters are in, or the ones that they're going to, but also within the dialogue itself. It adds to the ambiance of the events that we're discussing here. It gives them a grander feel. It's very thematic, it's very appropriate, and it once again, it sets the stage for things to come. Because as you can see now, we're starting out, everything's a bit relaxed. It's intense, but it's relaxed at the same time, because this is a start, and we see how things progress. And the characters, they themselves become more aggressive, more particular in their opinions, and there are revelations that are had, and we meet such a varied cast. We meet different Primarchs, we meet different characters who are Legion commanders, who are ship captains, army commanders, planetary governors, and so much more. Characters who, some of them are momentary in the narrative, but many of them, they're going to take on a life of their own down the line. And as such, I would say the pacing of the novel was also perfect. You know, things never get bogged down in one place, but there's always some kind of a revelation to be had very quick. There's some kind of an understanding as we switch between different characters. At one point we are with the Primarchs, another point we are with the Legion commanders, another point we are with line captains within the Legion. Sometimes we're meeting all these different mortal characters that are there, like the Remembrancers, who accompany the Legions now, recording and observing everything that's going on, preserving it for posterity. And the novel does not have a singular scope. It covers so many different things, so many different characters, so many different situations. They're often callbacks to future events or to future organizations, future factions. And those are little tidbits sprinkled around to give you all these hooks to stick with the story, to see where it's going. And overall, taken together, I think Dan Abnett was at his finest, not just with the prose and the dialogue, but also how he constructs and how he progresses the reader through all of that. And, in conclusion, I would say that we could not have had a better start to the Horus Heresy. I think Dan Abnett was a great choice for this endeavor, and he performed much better than could have been expected as a reader, as someone who's been obsessed with Warhammer lore for more than 2 decades now, actually, at this point. And my very first novel was, I believe, that one of Dan Abnett's Gaunt's Ghost books, or that, or the Space Wolf novels by William King. But I digress. A great start to a wonderful series that has stuck around for almost 20 years now, and it's amazing how much strength there has been in the series. The first 4 novels are a straight continuity, and after that, everything branches off. And I think that's the beauty of it. They did not start off with a branch off from the get-go. They built things up, and then they went off in different directions, and it's the beauty of the whole thing. And the editors and all the writers, there are like dozens of them at this point. They've all done a wonderful job. But coming back to Horus Rising, brilliant start to the series, highly recommended. And I had a blast reading it. I'm coming back to it after almost a decade myself, and it was a refreshing experience, especially since I moved through it at pretty much in a single setting, almost 400 pages, and it was fun to see things I'd forgotten, or seeing how they unfolded again, and making all these different connections to future things that I've read and experienced. And yeah, that's where we are. I think this was pretty much an A+, and hopefully False Gods will live up to the hype that this novel created, and improve on my own personal experience of reading that novel from years back, and give me a better understanding, a better context for all these stories, and making me see how, taken together, all this tapestry unfolds. So if you have yet to start with the Horus Heresy, I suggest this is where you start. This is the most logical point for you, irrespective of which Legion, which Primarch, which characters you prefer from 40k. This is where you should absolutely be starting, and I guarantee you're going to have a great time with it. So that's where we're going to end now. If you would like to follow more of my thoughts and more of my adventures, you can follow me on Twitter at AbhinavJain87. That's at ABHINAVJAIN87 on Twitter, on Instagram, and you can find me also on Twitch and on Bluesky and on Threads at the Paladin Journal. And come check out the stream sometimes. I cover my Warhammer hobby there, and I also cover my adventures in World of Warcraft. on my main paladin, Orion, his name is. And come hang out, guys. And I will try and get another review done fairly quickly, within a day or two, as soon as I can get through False Gods. And then we'll just move on from there. So hope you had a good time and come back again. Cheers. Bye, guys.